So my youngest is going to be 3 tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, she's going to be 3. And then I have a 5-year-old and she will be 6 in December. So yeah, I,
That's
I started late
amazing.
in life, but I'm just so grateful.
And for your testimony, it's just such a powerful um, gift that you were given to have found this company, right? And to be able to take those steps to really get your body ready. So I would love, just to share that, if you would share your journey a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, anything I can do to help, because I had no idea. Like I thought my OBGYN and what they said to me, 10 years or so ago when he said it was very unlikely I was pregnant. Actually this was like, yeah, towards, 2000, this was 2015, the first time I was pregnant with Mason. And I was going to him, and he said that there was, a 50% chance that I would miscarriage. And, and then I just thought I was doomed. He didn't give me any instructions on how to like prevent it or, what I could do. And he's like, well, your age and, and all these different things. And then, I did end up having a miscarriage. Also, during that time, I was not doing well, in my life. I have 10 years of sobriety now, but I did a lot of damage, to my body when it came to my health. And my body was under a lot of, this oxidative stress and probably wasn't eating that good or, keeping up with, my diet. And I was under chronic stress and so forth because I was putting my body, under that. But I did think that was a kind of a sentence, for me when I had that miscarriage and that traumatic experience happened. And then fast forward to about, the end of 2018, when I learned about this, technology that we'll talk about, and I was able to actually measure my oxidative stress and measure my antioxidants, which are the body's natural defense, against oxidative stress, with this technology that I was introduced to. And I saw my score was equivalent to somebody that smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. It was in the red zone. It just was like, whoa. It was just, hello, this is what's going on. My cells have always been trying to communicate with me, but it just gave me a visual and then it gave me a number and it gave me a goal. And I wasn't really thinking about pregnancy at that time. I wasn't in a relationship or anything, but I always had in the back of my mind, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to have children, So then fast forward, I took the supplements that we have that are guaranteed, to increase your score. They're carotenoid based. And I took those. My score continued to rise, and then I, met my boyfriend around that time, who's now my husband. And, I got pregnant. And I had a very healthy pregnancy. I stayed on these supplements, which were better than any prenatal. Everything was just amazing. And I was able to measure myself and the unborn, baby as well when I was using this technology, to make sure that they were also getting the nutrients that they needed to
Mhm.
thrive, in the womb. So it was just really neat to be able to monitor that. And now I have 2 little miracles.
Yes, two healthy girls, two healthy pregnancies,
Hmm.
right? And that's amazing too because I mean the literature shows, right, that oxidative stress plays a harmful role in female reproduction and fertility, right? I mean, also for men, that's kind of another, topic for another day, right? There is literature showing that all these factors that men's health plays into fertility as well, of course, but for women directly, I mean, it's just such a tangible step that women can take to start improving their chances for a healthy pregnancy, to get pregnant in the first place, right? But then to have a healthy pregnancy. And I love what you said too about, making sure that the baby in the womb is receiving everything they need. That's powerful. And I know that, too, even just one of the OBGYNs that works with us was speaking on a call the other day about how he doesn't have his patients do not take random prenatals, they take life pack, right?
Yeah.
So. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Because it's guaranteed, to increase your score. And if you do your own due diligence or go to pubmed.gov, you'll see everything about the importance of antioxidants and how it plays a role, in our health. Specifically now, just talking about fertility and because both egg cells and sperm cells are vulnerable to oxidative stress. And research has shown over and over again that strong antioxidant status plays a role in supporting, that reproductive health, healthy aging, and of course, overall wellness. So if you're going to take a supplement, which 3 out of 4 people are taking something, for their health, it might as well be one that nourishes you. It might as well be one that can go ahead and give you that cellular resistance and make sure that your cells are protected and that you can measure and guarantee. And overall, what that does, even for the unborn baby, as well, is just so crucial, and the studies on it are fascinating. So that's what I took. I did take our Life Pack Nano, which it was, just great, and it's what Dr. Feld, who's the OBGYN who's been working with this technology for so many years. I actually, spoke with him during my first pregnancy in 2020, right before COVID happened. And he's like, yeah, that's what you want to take. Like that's what he has all of his patients take. And, I felt so good taking it. And so absolutely, it's so important.
Yeah, right. And like you said something too, what is it, 85% of people are taking supplements anyway. And
Mhm.
that's like the big question, right? I mean, I know I've had that in the past before I, came across this technology and you and the company that we work with. And it's like, okay, you try to make the best choice that you can make. You're like doing like, okay, what products have studies? Which ones are reputable? What do I take? But you don't really know if they're actually even working ultimately,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
so tell everybody about what this technology does and how these products are guaranteed, right, to actually absorb and how they're the cleanest. This is also huge, how they're the cleanest thing that you can take on the market.
Absolutely. And even before that, it's also so important, diet first. I mean, we can't get everything we need, from our diet. That's
Mm,
why, you need to supplement nowadays. It's
yeah.
not like it used to be. And I think that's most people are somewhat educated, on that as well. But you also can't see, oxidative stress. Like you can't feel it always, right? Like in your body, like your body is always giving you signals, like telling you, oh, well, I'm tired and fatigued. And we typically like ignore it and say, okay, like I'm good. I'm just gonna have more coffee or whatever. But that's like a communication, from your body trying to say, hey, we're in stage 1 of cellular stress. Give us some nutrients. And then in stage 2, the cell goes, well, you missed us in stage 1. So in stage 2, we're going to inflict you with like the flu or some type of allergy or some type of like disease or sickness
Mhm.
so that you can kind of pay attention to us. And we're going to give you something synthetic, as well to kind of cover us up.
Yeah.
And then in stage 3, the body goes, well, you ignored us in stage 1. In stage 2, you try to cover us up. So in stage 3, we're going to inflict you with some type of, disease, and we may kill you. And that's what happens when the cellular state of the body becomes so overwhelming that the cell begins to die, and eventually the body begins to die.
Hmm.
So we really want to create this environment in our body where it can thrive, right? And we do that by eating those carotenoid-based foods and antioxidants. Your mama always was right saying, eat your fruits and veggies. I mean, and we're just like, like, no, and I know it's hard even as a mom, for my kids, but I know that now that I can measure them and have this technology at home, and be able to gamify it in the household because I don't know where mine is right now. I don't know if you have yours, but
Yeah.
if you click on it, you'll see it has different colors around it. It goes kind of in a wheel, and and each color is associated with your cellular resistance, with your oxy. There you go. Isn't that beautiful? It's like I love
Yeah.
it. Um, And it's really interesting because kids see that color and they know, okay, purple, like that's
Mhm.
what they want to get to. And I'm like, well, this is the way to do it. So they do take our G3 juice for kids. They take that every day. You know, we mix it sometimes in watermelon juice or make it into a, popsicle, but it's equivalent to 4 to 5 servings of fruits and veggies per serving. It's in the
Mhm.
physician's desk reference. It's guaranteed, and it also changes their behavior,
Mm,
right? So this is a
right.
catalyst towards behavior. It's an amazing piece of technology. I mean, if you're interested, I'm sure Tara can send you some additional information on the science, behind it. But we have over 120, peer-reviewed
Mhm.
studies, on this technology. It's more accurate than blood. It's as accurate as a biopsy, and we can look at the health of somebody's, body, specifically oxidative stress and antioxidants and lifestyle, and to see if it's actually working and putting them in that direction. I mean, we measure so many other things in our life and our health, like whether it's our sleep, like our steps that we take, and we have an Aura rings, or I
Mhm.
know I have an Apple Watch, and so we're always about tracking things. So if you can't track it, you can't, like, what can you do about it? So that's why instead of waiting for something to happen, we can be proactive, with that, because the healthier our cells are, the better equipped they are to perform the functions that they were designed to do. So it's based on Nobel Prize winning science. It's
Mhm.
backed by the National Institute of Health, the National Cancer Institute. We have a 10-year study from Yale. What using this technology, we use it at Duke, Stanford just released another study on it. I mean, it's rock solid science, and now we're able to bring it into households to create this awareness. So it's a very exciting time in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I love how validated this is. It's not just some kind of, something out there measuring, who knows what. It's so incredibly validated.
Who
And
knows
there's
what?
so many. Yeah, we have just an incredible amount of doctors that are utilizing it now in their practice and how they're approaching preventative care. Because just like you said, we measure all these things. We measure blood pressure. Then what happens? If it's too high, you get put on a blood pressure medicine, right? Blood
Hmm.
sugar gets measured, then you get put on a prescription for that. Well, if there can be that mindset shift to let's not just put band-aids on symptoms, but let's measure antioxidant status and how susceptible you are to these diseases, comorbidities, and things, right? And let's actually
Yeah,
prevent that from even happening in the first place. That's a shift that we need to head towards, right?
yeah,
In this next wave of healthcare and towards actually healthcare, it's not just sick care. Because let's
yes,
face it, we all know people, you and I talk to people every day, right, that are on this hamster wheel per se of sick care. They get put on prescriptions and then a prescription for that, and then nothing is actually addressed at the root level. And that's where we need to go. We need to go to the cell, right? Everything starts in the cell. All disease starts in the cell. Aging starts in the cell. It all boils down to that, right?
absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And just like you said, with blood pressure or anything else, like we measure things so that we can go ahead and improve it, and manage the outcomes, over time. But I also want to say, like, it doesn't matter where you're at, like right now, if you are in the worst health of your life, or if you have gone through addiction, or if you're inactive in that, it doesn't matter like where you are at this exact moment, like you can make those changes and improve your health. Like you're not a prison, like a prisoner to it. You can
Yes.
absolutely conquer it. And I've seen it over and over again, not just in my journey, but in other people's as well. Like it's a comeback story to take it back, but it starts with awareness and it starts with a decision. And then from there, you can take one step at a time and move forward on that journey. And that's just so important, I think, for people to be aware of.
That's huge. Yes, I love that. It doesn't matter where you're at, what stage, because the body, we all have that God-given innate ability to heal. Our bodies will heal, our cells will heal. And so by taking steps to really nourish our body, like you said, with the right nutrients and carotenoid-based nutrition and supplements, that is gonna yeah, it allows the body to really fight off and heal. So I love that. So,
Yeah.
yes, I always love our conversations.
Me
And
too.
I think, do you have any kind of well, we'll continue these conversations in the future,
Let's
of
do
course.
it.
Like,
This is
there's
fun,
so much I feel like
regardless.
we could say, even just like circling back to fertility and women's health, because I mean, the Dr. Feld, but like other physicians that utilize this technology are really utilizing it to prevent breast cancer, right? Early
Yes.
screening, all that. So there's so much we could talk about just in the women's health space. But I think just to kind of wrap this with a tangible step or like a word of encouragement for women that are wanting to prepare their bodies for pregnancy, or maybe they're already on this journey or they haven't, because this is huge. I mean, IVF, I feel like if we could, that's so helpful for so many people, right? But there's so many things you
Yeah.
could do in the meantime to, prolong or maybe prevent even having to go down that route. So what is your advice for women that are, on this journey and that they can gain from you?
Yes, thank you. And yes, this has been so much fun, Tara. I love it. Like,
I
this is
know.
going to be
I
great.
love
There's
you.
so
You know
much we can share.
that.
And again, it's really just about creating awareness and educating people on things that I had no idea about and went down this, journey of really getting into it and researching it and using this technology for over, 8 years and really just seeing all the positive, things that it has done. And not, like I said, not just in my life, but all over the world and people utilizing it. And the stories are just amazing. So I love spreading the message. I just think it's so important, and it needs to be talked about because for the health of tomorrow's baby, right? It begins with the health of today's cells, right? And
Yeah.
so what are we doing for that? It doesn't, like you were saying earlier, like we think we're not in control of it, like we think, oh, like you're saying, like the gender of the baby or, some of those things, like that's God, right? Like that is something we can't control that.
Yeah.
But the things that we can control, is what we're consuming. And also, putting ourselves like the oxidative stressors in our life. Like, what are we doing chemically? What are we consuming?
Right.
Right? Are we vaping? Are we drinking alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, chlorine, like all those different chemical stresses on the
Mhm.
body. And then emotionally, like how are we showing up? Are we getting enough sleep? Like, are we taking care of ourselves? Are we doing those things to really help reduce that stress, that's in our body and living in a state of, kind of, rest and digest, like that, like parasympathetic, you're feeling good and it's okay, like, to have like stress is normal, but we want to be regulated and so taking control of the things that you can. And then, of course, physical. And mine was a lot of it was physical because I was working out hardcore. I was training for the Boston Marathon at that
Yeah.
time when I first measured myself, over 8 years ago. So, yes, I was fit, but it doesn't mean I was healthy, right? So, just really, getting into those, understanding that it doesn't matter like how the Ferrari looks if the engine doesn't work, right?
Not going to get you
Um,
very far.
yeah, it's not. And I wasn't going to go anywhere, really anywhere. It's just like, it's like your engine light, right? It's like,
Yeah.
like help.
Right.
So yeah, physical, like if you're, obesity, right? Like, do some things in that way, get in some steps, like do things to help yourself on this path and, just start with something, put yourself in the calendar, make an appointment with yourself, whatever that is to start some of these behaviors. And if you want to learn more, reach out to Tara and she can definitely guide you, on this. She's amazing. But yeah, thank you for having me, Tara, and for
Yeah.
coordinating this.
Of course. Thank you. I just love you and all the amazing things that you're doing as well. So we'll just have to continue these conversations for sure. Keep putting this out.
Yes,
So,
please. Let's do
yes.
it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.